Hi everybody, my name is Rebecca. Let's talk about makeup. We're gonna look at the rest of my eyeshadow palettes. This is part 6 in my inventory series where I go over all of the products that I have in my inventory, my makeup inventory as of the end of 2023. We are in the midst of looking through my eyeshadow palettes. I have 69 eyeshadow palettes. We went through quite a few in the last video and we're gonna go through the remainder of them now. Two absolute classics in my collection, okay? The ColourPop That's Taupe. This is just, I think, the perfect neutral palette. It's just perfect. It's just perfect. I wouldn't consider this warm. I also wouldn't consider it cool. I would consider it straight down the middle. This is just a really, really pretty palette. I've gotten a fair amount of use out of it. I haven't panned anything, but that's with a collection my size, that's not unusual. I really enjoy everything about this. This is easy and it's pretty. I don't know what more to say about it. It's a fabulous palette. I also really enjoyed ColourPop's Going Coconuts. You can see how well worn and loved this is. You're gonna see more of that in a minute. Oh my goodness, do you see this mess? So first of all, these two are the fault of my child who, he kind of destroyed this palette, to be honest. And some of the pan that you're seeing in here is not just use. I mean, yes, I have used the heck out of this, but also some of it was prying fingers. And after my kid got into this, I was so sad, and I have been tempted to purchase another one, but I just feel like that's silly. There's still a lot of product in this palette, and I'm gonna have to use it significantly more before I would permit myself to purchase another one of the same palette. There's a bridge too far for me. I don't know if I can buy a dupe of a palette, especially while there is still so much product left in this one. I really, really love this palette. It's very similar to this one, but this one is just a little bit more, there's a little bit more pink in there. There's a little bit, this one's a little bit peachier. I don't know. There's a little bit of a nuanced shift in the shades in this one. I like them both. I really, really do. Both of them are lovely, easy, neutral palettes. Next, I have the only one in my collection that I haven't even opened this one yet. The plastic's still on it. This is called Looking Like a Snack, and it still has the plastic on it. This color here really, really enchants me. And the idea of pairing this and this here together, I don't know. I like the idea of it, but obviously not enough to actually have opened it and played around with it. I think this is a palette that I need to let go of. I bought it for about $4 at TJ Maxx after BH Cosmetics filed for bankruptcy. But if I haven't opened it by now, I probably should pass it along. Stone Cold Fox. I actually think this is one that I failed to list in my journal. I think this might bring me up to 70. I think I have 70 palettes, not 69. This is Stone Cold Fox. I think the reasons why I missed this one is because this one disappointed me, to be perfectly honest. I felt like this was the beginning of the cool toned wave that we had. You can see I have popped a lot of these shades out. I realized something about myself. I don't like a huge palette. I really don't. I feel like I am overwhelmed with options, and I get a little bit of decision paralysis when I have a palette that is this massive. Even one that's as neutral as this one is, where it doesn't really matter what you pick, they're all gonna go together, you know what I'm saying? I also felt like some of this palette was a little bit repetitive. The ones I popped out ended up being the ones that were my favorite. I also struggled to blend. And listen, I don't struggle to blend very often, but this was the first time in a long time I put my eye makeup on and then had to take it off and then start again. That hasn't happened to me in a long time, but that happened to me when I first got this palette. So that kind of put me off of it a little bit. The size of it was off-putting, so I popped out the ones that I liked the best and I shoved this in the bottom of a bin in my closet. And I think that's the reason why it never made it onto my These are the ones that I popped out of the Stone Cold Fox palette. I have used quite a bit of this shade and quite a bit of this shade here. I don't use a ton of single eyeshadows, but of the palette, these are the ones that I felt like this were the standouts. And to be perfectly honest, I would have been perfectly happy if the palette had just been this. I don't think that I'm losing anything. If I were to just toss this in the trash, I don't think I would really lose anything, to be perfectly honest. I would have preferred a much smaller palette, but I learned something about myself, which is I just don't like the mega palettes. I just don't like them. The having more options for me is not better. Anyway, I still don't love the formula. There's a ColourPop formula that I prefer vastly over the one that's in Stone Cold Fox. That is a little bit more blendable, a little bit more easy to use, and a little bit richer in opacity, a little bit creamier. I found a lot of the mattes in the Stone Cold Fox very powdery. Okay, now we have a stack of BH Cosmetics palettes. I picked these all up from TJ Maxx or Marshall's after they filed for bankruptcy. The first one so the majority of these, I think the most expensive one was probably, I don't know, $12 maybe? Maybe not even that. Let's just go through it, shall we? Lost in Los Angeles. This is a beautiful pastel palette. Love this. This one and the Tokyo are what I'm wearing on my inner corner here. This white here is the best white eyeshadow I have ever experienced in my entire life. This blue right here is what I'm wearing on my inside corner. I know it looks darker, doesn't it? It's because it is. I layered this white shadow over the blue and got it to pop quite a bit more. Both of these together, listen, this is a great rainbow palette. I love having this in my collection. I don't wear a ton of color all the time, but when I do, I am covered. Look at this. These are gorgeous. The formula is phenomenal. I have had a lot of fun playing around with this, and that white. I would keep this whole palette just for that white. Really, really pretty. I've done a similar look to the one that I'm wearing right now, which is basically just a brown smoky eye with blue in the middle. I've done that one with this pink here, and that was really pretty as well. Love these palettes. So these are definitely of the travel palettes that I have tried. And I had a few more than this that I passed on to a friend. These are probably my favorites here. The third and last palette from BH Cosmetics travel collection that I have is the Passion in Paris palette. This one is also really, really pretty. Look at those deep jewel tones. I don't wear a ton of blues, so if you kind of cover up the blue, you're not left with a ton. You know what I'm saying? But I have enjoyed, so I haven't worn this a lot, but the times that I have worn it, I have really enjoyed it. The formula is beautiful. She's just really, really pretty, and I'm glad to have her in my collection as well. Next, I have the three, what were these called? These were the Weekend Vibes. That's right, the Weekend Vibes palettes. I have all three of them. This is the best green palette that I've ever experienced in my life. I mean, this is the reason why I don't dip into the child palette all that often, is because I have the avocado toast. It has all of my bases covered. I just love this palette. I do enjoy from time to time a green look, and I do tend to prefer these more olive green colors. Although these two get a little bit grassy, and that's got a little bit of blue in it there. It's a good range of greens in different formulas, and it's got a few neutrals to pair it with. This is just a solid palette, and the quality is top notch. Love that palette. Next is the only blue palette that I own, really. Well, I mean, the Passion in Paris has a fair amount of blue in it too, but I do think of this as a blue palette. This is the Blueberry Muffin palette from the Weekend Vibes collection, and this is also a really solid palette. I don't wear blue very often, but if I do, I got what I need right here. This is a really, really, really lovely palette, and again, like the avocado toast, the formula on this one is just beyond compare. It's beautiful. For all of my complaints about warm tone shadows, I also have the Mimosa palette. I don't know, there's something delicious about this palette. I don't love to wear a fully warm tone look, so I in general will not wear an eye look that's wholly from this palette. If I'm using this palette, it's because I've pulled it for a pop of color, or because I'm pairing it with something else, which I don't do often. So I don't use this palette a ton, but I will never give it up because it's delicious and wonderful, and I love having the option should I want it. I love these palettes. I'm gonna be buried with these palettes, okay? I am never decluttering these palettes. I think the thing that excites me the most about them is that even though these are very much experimental colors for me, they are not, they're palettes I reach for when I'm feeling in a playful, experimental mood, and they're not everyday palettes for me, but they really do cover my bases should I want colors in these families. If I want a green look, if I want a blue look, if I want a peachy coral look, I have everything I need in a formula that is absolutely phenomenal. Love these palettes. I really waxed poetic about that, didn't I? Next, I have my first Odin's Eye. Next, I have the second of my two Odin's Eye palettes. I actually purchased this one first. This is the Hella palette, which was the collab between Odin's Eye and Angelica Beast. And there's just something about green and pink together that I just love it. It's not always super easy to pull it off on the eye, but a watermelon eye in the summertime, I just, love it. Just love a watermelon eye in the summertime. I do need to experiment a little bit with some of these other colors. If I can just block out the pink and green and look more at the yellow and like maybe this top row here and just get a few more ideas for a color that's not pink and green. I need to play around a little bit more with this than I have. I have enjoyed the pink and green looks that have come out of it. They're very summery, fun eyeshadow look. But she's got a little bit more range than that. A little bit more. I need to play with her more. Really, really good quality. I really enjoy the quality. I think the reason why the quality impresses me so much is because I feel like the thing that Too Faced cannot do, which is the layering of colors and being able to build up depth and being able to put several colors on your eyes without them mixing into a muddy mess. So I can put 5 different colors on my eyes and you will be able to see each and every one of them. At no point will they all just meld into some grayish, brownish, goopy nothing on my eyes. They maintain their integrity even when being blended together. And I love that. And it really, really complements the way I prefer to do my makeup. You thought I was done with Pat McGrath? Listen, you don't even know, okay? I admit the amount that I enjoyed that Valentine's release that I purchased at the beginning of last year kind of sparked a little bit of an obsession for me. And I definitely took advantage of Pat's really phenomenal sales that she had throughout last year, and this is the result. I picked up 3 of Pat's quads. First here I have her Venus and Fleurs Luxe Quad in Voyeuristic Vixen, and this I think was in, I got this on sale because it had been in limited edition packaging. I think that's why it was on sale. And I think this was what, Lunar New Year, possibly? Such a pretty quad. Like if you cover up this duochrome that she's got here, this is a very basic, pretty, easy, very sophisticated eye look, okay? And then you add in this one, and it just becomes, it's party time all of a sudden. You know what I'm saying? It's like church, party time. Church, party time. I really enjoyed this quad. I actually, one of the uses that I have for this one that I really enjoy is my husband and I are both in the same industry. We're in the book industry, and we go to conferences on occasion. And one of the things that I like to do is wear this for all of my daytime work events. And then we go out to dinner, pop that on in the center of the lid. All of a sudden, you're ready to party. Next is the Luxe Eyeshadow Cloud in Passion Fleur. This one, formula-wise, is a little bit less impressive to me than the Pat McGrath Labs. However, it is still really pretty, and it is the first time I really realized the versatility of Pat's eyeshadows. I know a lot of people complained about the fact that the only matte in the palette was this very, very deep purple shade, but the thing is, you don't need another one. A very, very light hand will give you just the softest wash of color with this, and then you can build it up in the outer corner or in the crease if you want to, or just leave it as is. Having this very softly through the crease with this on the lid is just the softest, prettiest look. I have really, really enjoyed this quad. Formula-wise, again, it doesn't have a special shade in it. There's no duochrome like the one in this one. Formula-wise, it's a little bit pedestrian, but I do think the color story is very pretty. Next, I have these two little minis by Pat McGrath. This is the Midnight Voyage, and this is, which one is this? This is the Sublime Smoke. These together are such a nice little palette. I don't love this one on its own. I think I like this one a little bit better on its own. It's a very bronzy, neutral look. And I thought I would like this one a little bit more because of that pop of purple it's got in there and the fact that it's got a little bit more pinkiness throughout. But the two of these together gives you a lot of versatility, in my opinion. And they are the cutest little travel palettes. Love a tiny palette. Love a tiny palette. Next, I have 3 of her quads, or these are her quints, yes. I also got these. I think I got these for 15 bucks a piece or something ridiculous like that. Actually, I think I might have it written down. $22 each. Okay, so not 15, but obviously not full price either. The formula in this is which one's this? Nude Allure. This one is Bronze Bliss. The formula that she puts in these quints is special. The third one here, I bought it primarily for the packaging. I'm a big Star Wars geek, if you couldn't tell. The formula she puts in these ones is just, it's different than the ones that she puts in her other palettes. This one here, this silver here, is the most creamy, liquid metal. I don't, do you see, it just keeps going. Look at that. It just is the prettiest. Oh, that's gorgeous. I wish I was a little bit more into silver because I'm not hugely into silver, but that is the best one I have ever found. Sometimes I will pop a little tiny bit of silver just right in the inner corner, and this is the most reflective one that I own. This is a really pretty palette. This charcoal color is really, really nice as well. I also really enjoy this one here. It's kind of that neutral, more bronzy color all over the lid. Really nice one and dones in these. Likewise, this one, the color palette is a little bit more up my alley. This matte here shears out really beautifully if you need it to. Any of these are just a gorgeous lid shade, and they're all really, really lovely one and dones as well. I did go through a period of time where I was more into the one and done than I am right now, but generally speaking these days, at least 3 or 4 colors go on my eyes. This one is my newest acquisition. I bought this, I want to say a week and a half ago. I saw it at TJ Maxx and could not resist because it has Darth Vader on it. Here's the surprising thing is, since I got it, the color that I thought I would wear the least is the one I have worn the most. I have worn this multiple times, and I was thinking, oh, I'm not really all that into blues, but there's just something smoky, and it's a really pretty and a lot more wearable. I feel silly calling this a wearable color, but it is a lot more wearable than I expected it to be. I have added it to certain eye looks, and it just gives it this grungy, smoky blue that I don't know, it's really, really pretty. I never thought that I would like this color as much as I have. I still have not found my appreciation for this one yet. I actually haven't tried it. I've only swatched this one. I haven't tried that one on my eyes yet, but so far I was thinking that this palette was gonna be like, oh, I'm buying it mostly for the packaging, but I'm not even gonna use this blue, probably won't use the orange. I have basically these shades in other palettes, other Pat McGrath palettes too. So I acknowledged to myself that I was just indulging the Star Wars fan in me, but I really like it. I really like it. I've worn it more than I expected to. It's a good surprise. Next, I have this one. This is the holiday collection, not last Christmas, but the Christmas before. I got this for, I don't know, $50. I've seen it for cheaper at TJ Maxx, both January of 2023, January, February of 2023. Well, actually, no, throughout last year, I saw it cheaper at TJ Maxx or Marshall's. And then I saw a resurgence of these in TJ Maxx and Marshall's just this last holiday season. So I have only used this, I want to say once. I really need to use this palette. I don't know what the block is that I had in my mind. I think it's because I was using this as a reward for myself. I was like, okay, I've bought this beautiful Pat McGrath palette, super excited to use it, but we were getting ready for a move. And in order to get myself motivated to do the enormous amount of work involved in moving states for the first time in 16 years, oh my gosh, it was such a huge undertaking. I told myself, once you've done it, then you can use it. But then once it was done, I never used it. It's almost like I'd put some kind of mental block in my mind that I couldn't touch it. But we've moved. I made it. I did it. I deserve to use this palette. I gotta crack this one out. I'm doing that. You know what? I think I'm gonna do that today. I'm gonna take this eye look off and I'm gonna put on something new. I deserve this. Okay, a few more. Is that all of my Pat McGrath? Oh no, I have one more quad. This is the Ritualistic Rose. This is the quad of Pat McGrath. I think I got this for like 30 bucks, which I'm glad about. This is the quad of her special shades. This is the reason why I have not been too sad about the fact that Pat McGrath does not seem to be including her special shades in her palettes any longer. But I have this. I have this. I've got what I need. I also have, I have 3 motherships sitting over here. I'm gonna take you through those, but between those motherships and this quad here, I've got all the Pat McGrath special shades that I need. So I'm not sad. We'll go through these motherships. Okay, first one. This is probably her best one, in my opinion. This is Mothership Moonlit Seduction. I just think this is, color story wise, this is perfection. The special shades that she's got in here, the shimmers, the mattes, this is perfection in a color palette as far as I'm concerned. This is beautiful. I feel like this is one of the palettes that I reach into and I can do no wrong. Like, there is no going wrong with this. It's all beautiful. And there's a surprising amount of versatility in here as well, especially when you take into account the fact that any of Pat's mattes can be sheared out to be a transition shade, any of them. This one here, if I don't want to have any rosiness in my look, I can take this one and put it very, very lightly through the crease as a transition and then build up in the outside corner for depth to get more opacity. And then I can take some of these, this one here, some of these others, and I can get a look that has, or this one right here is really pretty as well. I can get a look that has zero rosiness at all. It has a surprising amount of versatility. I really like this one. It looks green to you, it looks purple to me. It's a really, really pretty, solid, well thought out palette. Really well thought out. I feel like this really showcases Pat's knowledge and creativity in a way that some of her other palettes, more recent palettes, really haven't. Next, you knew I was gonna have this one. You knew I was gonna have it. I got this during one of her big sales when she was just liquidating the last few of these, so I got it at a pretty decent price. That said, it is not my favorite color story, to admit. There is a green look that I pull out of here that I really enjoy. Probably need to play with it a little bit more, but it's just not as easy and I feel like with the Moonlit Seduction, I look in that palette and I immediately know what to do. Whether I want a bronzy look, whether I want a more mauve berry look, whatever I want from this palette, it's immediately obvious. This is not as immediately obvious to me, and I have to work a little bit harder to compose a look out of this one. It's not my absolute favorite. That said, I think this special shade here is just, this is that fine, really lovely dispersed shimmer. That's just gorgeous. I don't know how you can not like it. I know that there are plenty of people who just they're not impressed at all, but that one's also really nice, but that's more of a, that comes off on the skin more like a typical shimmer. I know that there are plenty of people who are not impressed at all by Pat's special shades, but I'm just not one of them. I love her shadows. I really, really do. And this is the last one. This is probably the one that I would not have purchased myself. I wouldn't have, but it was a gift. My husband bought this for me. And this is the much maligned Sunlit Seduction. Listen, I'm not gonna lie. I'm not gonna lie to you. I love this palette. Is it repetitive? Yes. Do I have a lot of these other tones in the other Pat McGrath palettes that I have? Yes, I do. Do I feel really, really pretty every time I pull an eye look out of this palette? Also, yes. I just really enjoy it. This is a very repetitive color story. There's not a whole lot of variety that I'm going to be getting out of this palette, and so I do think for a palette that has 10 shades in it, I really think it ought to have a little bit more versatility, but I don't know. I can't be mad at it because I just feel so dang pretty every time I use it. Can't be mad at it. I still do believe the Moonlit Seduction is a superior palette simply because I feel like the color story is a little bit more creative. It's more well thought out, and there's definitely more versatility in this one. But I cannot bring myself to dislike this just because I love every shade in this palette. I love everything in here. And I just feel so pretty every time I wear it. I do wish that these shades were her baked formula. I prefer the baked formula to these shimmers that she has here, but I have them in these ones. So it's not like I am suffering for lack of Pat's special shades. I can't be mad at it. It's just so pretty. I have just a few more to share with you. This is another Alter Ego. This is the Artemis palette. I bought this because I was interested. This is so not me as a color story. It's so not me. But I was interested in this color story. This is a dupe for the Natasha Denona Metropolis palette, I think. Am I right? I might not be right, but and I bought it from Alter Ego because I knew this is not an everyday wear for me. I want to play and experiment with it. So I think I got this on a 20% off sale off of Alter Ego, and I'm happy that I got it on sale. This is not, there are so many shades in here I'm just never gonna use. Like this orange here, never happening. I don't see me ever wanting this shade of orange on my eyes. I have gotten some really pretty like peacock blue-ish green color or eye looks out of this that I have really enjoyed. I think I'm gonna get some really pretty green eye looks out of this that I'm gonna enjoy. There's also a fair number of neutrals in here. This number of colors, I start to get a little bit overwhelmed. And the other thing that I don't love about this palette, I just don't like the cream to powder. I just want a powder, just give me a powder. I don't need a cream to powder. I like liquid eyeshadows. I like to use liquid eyeshadows as bases. I just don't like this cream to powder formula. I don't know how similar it is to Natasha Denona's formula. Give me a powder. It would be easier for me to deal with a powder than to deal with these cream to powder situations in here. That said, I think this is an interesting color story. It is not like anything else, any other palettes that I have in my collection. And I'm happy to have it. I'm also happy to have it cheaply and not expensively. Little bite-sized elf. I used to have about 3 or 4 of these. This is the last one that I haven't decluttered. This is called Berry Bad. You can see why this is the one I haven't decluttered because That's right up my alley. I haven't used her in a long time. I think I probably am going to end up passing this on to one of my daughters, just because if I need a berry or mauvey toned eyeshadow, I have Pat McGrath to reach for. I don't know why I would be reaching for e.l.f. This is the most, no, this is not the most recent acquisition, but I think I picked this up at the end of December. I think that's when I got this. This is the Ace Beauté Violet Sage. I picked this up on discount for like $8. Got this for $8. I just really love the combinations of pinks and greens. I've said that before. And the addition of these purples here just makes this color story even more interesting to me. I've worn it once. I really enjoyed the look that came out of it, and I'm excited to play with it some more. Almost forgot my Natasha Denona minis. I have 2 of her little 5 pans, and a few other odds and ends. So I have the Natasha Denona Mini Biba. This is just a really solid little, this is my first experience with Natasha Denona eyeshadows, and I'm not disappointed. It's really pretty. This is a very easy, is this her cream to powder formula? Because I was just talking about in the Artemis palette that I don't have any experience with a Natasha's cream to powder, but this might be a cream to powder. It doesn't feel like the other eyeshadows in here, but it performs very much like a powder shadow. I had no problem putting it on a brush. Consistency just looks a little bit different. Somebody, if anybody knows, tell me, is this a cream to powder? Is that the Natasha's cream to powder formula? Anyway, really solid little neutral palette. I bought this for travel specifically, and I have traveled quite a bit with it. Really, really enjoy that one. This one, I didn't need this one, but I wanted it. Listen, I remember wanting this when it first came out, and then the I Need a Nude came out immediately afterwards. So this is the Mini Starlet palette. This grayish, pinky, this grayish mauve. I don't know what it is about this shade, but I am in love with this. I'm in love with this. I also really enjoy this. The whole palette is lovely. Between this one, I was really, really tempted by the I Need a Nude this year. I really was. I almost bought it on a couple of different occasions, but between these 2 palettes, I Need a Nude. I have everything that I would want to get out of I Need a Nude right here. Now, I'm not saying that I won't at some future date buy I Need a Nude. I'm just telling you, I don't need a nude. Might still pick it up eventually, just because I find that color story just so enchanting. But this really helped me hold off on another eyeshadow purchase that I didn't need to make, the combination of these 2 palettes. Now, speaking of combinations, I think these 2 go really, really well together. I had these on a work trip. So I took both of these. This is kind of big to take on a work trip, but we drove. It was pretty nearby. We drove. I didn't have to worry about fitting it into my luggage, so I went ahead and brought the big palette. But I feel like this is similarly to the way that I would use my Voyeuristic Vixen daytime look and then add a little oomph for nighttime events. I did the same thing at the work conference that I had in November. This was my daytime eye look, and then we would go after conference hours, we would go do fun things and have dinner and hang out with people, and I would just add a little oomph. Daytime, so add in a little bit of kapow, on top of it. So these really mixed very, very well for that purpose, and I love them both. I love them all. Okay, honestly, I love almost everything on the table here in front of me. I know that it is a large collection, but I love looking at it all. Just looking at it with you today and just swatching things. And I don't even need to put these on my eyes. I just love them so much. I have my only Ofra shadow. Well, that's actually not true. Right now, I actually have a face palette. I'm not going to be showing it today because I've categorized it with my face palettes, but it includes some eyeshadows. So, but this was my first experience with Ofra's eyeshadows, and this is a very me color story, obviously. Terribly different from the looks that I get from the other ones, no. but it is a really pretty eye look. This one also I feel like has a little bit of versatility. If you wanted to, you could go in with this one and this one and this one and get less of a purple look. Putting this one in really injects the look with a lot of berry. You could, if you wanted an all matte look that was just very neutral, these two, this is a bit more of a satin than a matte, but it will read very matte on, it will read matte enough on the eyes. Anyway, really, really pretty palette. I love it. Also love that I only paid $15 for it. Happy about that. I really do, because my collection is so large and I know that I really crave a variety in my collection. I do try pretty hard to make sure that each individual acquisition is as, you know, financially responsible as possible. If I'm not buying high-end stuff at full price, I can buy more. I actually have 2 of these Glam Light Hershey Kisses palettes. I picked these up at, I think, Marshall's. They were each about, I don't know, I think $10 a piece. But this is the Milk Chocolate palette. This is the only other palette. When I was talking about the Wild Child palette and how it has some browns in it that are cooler, on the cooler side, almost the purpley side. This is the other palette that I have that I feel like fills that same requirement in my collection, to the point that I think it's a little bit redundant. I think I probably will end up decluttering the Wild Child and hanging on to this one, just because I feel like for my skin tone, this one is a little bit more versatile. It doesn't have quite as much orange. It's not quite as warm. I really, really like the tones in this palette. And these tones are a little bit unusual in my collection for their, like this one has a little bit of warmth, but if you cover these ones up, that's very cool. But it's cool in a, it's subtly cool in a way that's much more flattering on my skin tone than the straight up grays in, for instance, the Boudoir Noir palette. So really, really love this. The quality is excellent. And then just for a little bit of fun, I have the Lava Cake. These are kind of tricky to open. I don't, to be perfectly honest, this is cute packaging, but I don't love storing it. How cute is that? If you cover these up, this suddenly becomes much more wearable. But then if you just want to have some fun, kapow, right there. I feel like this one is a fun one for the kind of look that I'm wearing right now. I could put on kind of a brown smoky look with this, stick that in the inner corner. It'd be a lot of fun. I'd like that. I really enjoy both of these palettes. Lovely quality, very rich pigmentation, blendable, gorgeous. Here is one of the more manky looking palettes in my collection. I think this is the last one I have to share with you. Nope. Okay, let's do this one first. Okay, only a couple more to go. Sigma Untamed. I don't love it. I feel like every time I do my eyes with this, I end up with a muddy mess on my eyes. I feel like it just gets muddy. I've used it, I want 3 or 4 times. I picked it up at Marshall's. I'm not ready to let go of it because I know that there are so many people who love it so much and I want to love it too. I just don't yet. So I'm gonna hang on to it for a little bit longer. I'm gonna experiment with it a little bit more, see if I can get it to work for me. But the first several looks that I have tried, I tried a purple look here with these. I tried a green gold look here. It just ended up muddy on my eyelids. I didn't love it. It might be one of those situations where I need to adapt my technique a little bit to suit this formula. But this is my only experience with Sigma formulas, and to be perfectly honest, it's put me off of trying any more of their palettes. So I'm gonna give it another shot and try to make it work for me. But so far, not impressed with Sigma shadows. I think this is my last one. This is quite possibly the most manky looking palette in my collection. It is incredibly well loved. It is one of the very few. I think this is the only palette that has pan in it that I made. I know that my Going Coconuts palette has some pan in it, but that was because my kid stuck his fingers in it. This one, I made that pan. This is a really boring palette. This is the Profusion Smoky palette. It is really good. It is really good. I love every single shade in this palette. I've just used the heck out of this thing. I'm getting a little hard pan here, which I don't love. There's a little bit going on here, but this is a really good black shade. This is a really lovely transition. You can go cool with it. You can go warm with it. You can stay neutral with it. As a neutral palette, this is just a really solid palette. I feel like of all of the neutral palettes that I have, this is the one that has the capacity to be the most dramatic because of the range that it has in here. Really, really lovely palette. It is older in my collection. And I do feel like I need to work at getting as much use as I can out of this before it eventually needs to leave my collection. This is just a solid palette, and it was like $10 at Walmart. Can't beat that. Can't beat that. This is one of my favorite palettes. $10. Take that, Pat McGrath. Okay, I missed a few. Forgot my Viseart palette, so let's go through those really quick. I have the Viseart Petite Pro Un. Looks like that. This is the color story. Really lovely, soft, pretty color story. Really very, very nice. These ones I bought them for the purpose of switching them around and making my own palette, because there were some colors in one and then there were some colors in some different ones and I wanted to mix and match. So I purchased the Petit Fours Lilas, Lilas Dew, and Violetta. And I mix and match them into my own palette that looks like this, which is just the perfect little, I love this, love this. The mattes are lovely, the shimmers are beautiful. They are not the most kapow thing in the world. If you're looking for kapow, Viseart's not the place. Here's what's remaining in Lilas Dew. Lilas. These were just the lighter matte shades that I didn't have a ton of use for. And then the ones that I left behind in Violetta. But I took some from each of those and made just a really, this is perfect for me. Again, Viseart, very soft, pretty, effortless looks. They're really easy to use. They blend really beautifully. The shimmers are not super metallic. They're just very soft, pretty looks. And I really, really, really have enjoyed the Viseart formula. Big fan, big fan. I have not used this one as much as I would like to. My kid got his fingers into it again. You see that? I need to pull these out and use them more because I really have enjoyed them in the past. I think that is it. I think that is all of my palette. I hope this has been interesting to you in some way or entertaining. Thank you so much for spending your time with me, and I hope I will see you in the next one. Bye.